So it feels like I'm in Mexico on the beach.
And when you look down at yourself, what do you see?
Wearing linens, but my body is not fully clothed. And I have like corn stalks around my waist and my hair, sandals on my feet. And I have two little children around me, a male and a female. They're twins, 5 years old. I'm female. I'm a high priestess of the temple.
How old would you say you are?
35.
Are those children yours?
Yes, but they also belong to the community.
When you look around the beach, what do you see?
I see other people from the community collecting shells and a few other things on the beach before we head back to the community, which is a half a day trek into land.
Do you know why they're collecting shells?
It's for community service.
What is your name?
Letitia.
Do you notice any ornaments or jewelry on your body?
Um, I have on quite a lot of gold, and it's very light. I have on a headdress made with feathers. Uh, my clothes have golden threads in them.
Just let time flow forward a little bit and just see what you get up to next. Just on the beach there, so you said the people collecting shells. Do they continue on? What do you get up to?
Oh, I'm just waiting for them to collect. I don't actually do any work. And I'm helping to watch the children. They're actually collecting seashells that have little sea life in them that they used to eat. We used to eat.
Do you communicate with anybody as you stand there?
No, just the children. Everyone else is really on the beach. I'm just there with the children.
Do you have any kind of authority over those people?
I do.
What are the children doing now?
They're just playing in the sand. And I'm teaching them how to feel the wind pressure and the air and how to read the land and how to work with the elementals.
What's an example of the reasons they should be feeling the air pressure in the air?
Learning how to work with and sense the elementals.
Do you sense any of the elementals right now?
Yes.
Can you describe one of them?
They feel like fairies and pixies. I feel many of them coming in off the ocean. They seem like lights and they seem like dust, but they're not. And they're whispering in my ear what's to come next.
About the future?
Yes.
What did they say?
They're telling me about a time that we will cease to be no more and we'll go to another dimension when the foreigners come.
Do you know what the year is right now?
Feels like it's 1445.
Do you get any visuals or understanding of what the foreigners will look like?
Well, they're telling me about their big ships and they're explaining to me what those vessels look like. They're foreign to me, but they explain it so well that I have a mental imagery of it.
Do you know what other reasons that those elementals are there? Why do they come there to the beach?
But they're always there. They're always around.
So would you say they live there?
Yeah, they live there. They live in the air and the trees and the sand. They're in uh, uh, constant communication with me wherever I go. They're like my companions.
So one of the things they do is give you information about the future. What other sorts of information would they give to you?
They guide me as to how to protect, nurture, and guide my community. How to use the land, the different elementals for the different herbs. So they teach me secrets of the land.
So when your children grow up, what will their responsibilities be?
They're there to serve the community as like judges or to help keep the peace and to pass down the knowledge that I've gained from the elementals. They're the healers.
As a high priestess, is there any other high priestesses or is it just you?
It's just me, but my daughter will take my place. So I know I'm about to pass from this dimension to another. And the communities around me and everyone already knows that my daughter will succeed me. She's ready and she's trained. My age is 55. It feels like there's crying, but there's also a lot of celebration. And then I hear a war cry. There sounds to be a whistle that they make with the corn husks and with willows. And then when they make a certain sound, then it's as if that ushers my spirit to leave this plane. Feels as if I'm inside, but it's very bright there. I'm in a temple of sorts, like a pyramid.
Where are you positioned inside?
My head is facing northeast. My body has flowers all around it.
What are you laying on?
I'm laying on reeds and a lot of flowers and the husks from coconuts and different fibers in from the community. Feels like a nice pillowy, soft mattress.
Do you know why you are passing at this time?
It feels as if my body is tired and it was just my time to depart, as if that was the contract I made to pass at this time.
Do you have any other family alongside the two children?
Well, my mate is there. He's at my right hand side. And then before I passed, he chose another mate. And I acknowledged that and gave them my blessing.
What is his position or role?
He's a priest supporting the priestess.
So as you lay there and think back about that lifetime, or think about anything that's going on, what's some of the things that come into your mind about that lifetime?
It was very peaceful, and I gained a lot of knowledge from the elementals that was passed on through the ages to help this world with plants. Because that was my love and that was my gift.
Do you notice any feelings or thoughts about the fact that you know that you're passing?
No, it just feels very natural.
So just move to the moment you take your last breath and go through that process and describe what's happening.
As I take my last breath, it feels as if I release something and then my body goes into another dimension.
Are you still
Just
in the same location?
no, I don't stay there at all. It feels like my work there is done and I'm swiftly. It almost feels as if I'm in a space where the creative energy is, source energy.
And what do you sense around you?
I feel my guides are there and we're doing, everyone's just talking to me about the last lifetime, the one I just had, finishing up.
Yeah. What are some of the things they're saying?
They're documenting all of my experiences. They're documenting all of my experiences. It's almost as if they're checking my energy fields to see where there's any energy that I left behind that they need to collect on my behalf.
Can you describe the type of energy if you have left any behind?
It feels like there's what we would call healing energy, or a part of myself that I had in the work. And because I loved it so much, it felt as if that part of me was left behind. There's not all my energy came with me.
How are they documenting your experiences, how does that take place?
It's all telepathically, where um, they're just sensing. It's just a sensing and a knowing, and they're documenting it on something that it's like an energetic paper of sorts, without tools, but just with their hands.
Do you know the reason that they're doing that?
It's like a storing of the information. It's almost instantaneous.
When you look back
So
at that lifetime, what do you think the main lesson or purpose was?
to bring knowledge um, to my people that'll be used for the healing of the people for future generations.
Would you say that you were a kind of a pioneer in that sense and they didn't really have that before?
Yes.
What were you saying just before about the documenting?
Well, it feels like it looks to me like it's paper, but it's not paper from this dimension. It's like a crystalline structure that takes no space and stores stored in an energetic library for anyone in the universe to tap into.
What takes place after all of that happens?
I seem to have a mini vacation of sorts where I'm on my own and I'm just experiencing just being alone, devoid of any other energies around me, so that I could integrate everything from that lifetime. Because I have a tendency to like going from lifetime to lifetime, and this is the only way for me to have time on my own between lives.
Where does that take place?
It just feels like a construct of some kind, like a hologram that I've created to just enjoy my stay instead of just being.
So, like a place you've manifested.
Yeah.
And what does it look like?
Feels like it feels like it has like a little bit of everything here on earth. There's a waterfall over there. There's a nice field. There's flowers. It feels as if it's a little carryover from the life I just left. So it's a transitory phase of sorts. But none of
And
it is really real.
yeah,
It's just a construct.
do you know if you use the same one between lives, or as in when you do this again between other lives, do you use the same kind of location or do you use different ones?
It changes.
How would you describe the reason for using that one, as in, that it looks similar to where you were? Why would you do that?
It's it feels like a place where I can assimilate all the parts of my being, and then to assimilate the last lifetime into my being. And then when that's assimilated, it it's almost as if I zip all of that into the fiber of my being, and then I have no need to do that the next time.
That makes sense.
So the joy and the experience of it will stay with me all the time.
How long would you stay in that place before you move on to something else?
Uh, 3 to 5 days, human days.
Are you alone the whole time?
Yes, by choice.
Okay, so what do you do after you've been there?
Feels as if I have a reunion of sorts with other souls, and then I move on to go to my next uh, incarnation, which they're telling me it can happen for a little while, but what feels like a month there, but a few years in Earth years before I could be reincarnated again as a soldier.
So that reunion you have, who are the souls that show up?
Feels like it's mother figures from different lifetimes. Mostly female energies. Feels like women who had experiences in Europe, or it feels as if I'm gathering information for my next incarnation in Europe. It feels like a soul family who has lifetimes together, and some of them I haven't seen for a while. And we're exchanging experiences, etc.
Do you know how large your soul family is?
45,000.
Okay, so you mentioned that the next lifetime is a soldier. Before you go into that lifetime, did anything take place to get ready for it?
I'm being very clear about the experiences that I want to have in that lifetime with love, passion, death, suffering, torture, torment, excruciating pain, the highs and lows of that life.
So when you say you're being very clear, do you mean that you were kind of investigating what it would be like?
Yes.
Did you have any choices apart from that lifetime?
Uh, I could have been, it's my choice. That's what I wanted to do next.
Were there any other lifetimes that you looked at or considered?
No, not now, no.
So with that one as the soldier, how did that become presented to you? Was it just you taking part in that process, or did you have help?
Me taking part in the process.
Like the selection process, yeah.
Yeah. I want to experience that because of the lifetime that I had as the priestess. And with Earth having so much wars, I want to experience and understand and know what that feels like. All that suffering and causing harm to someone else down there.
Do you know what time period that lifetime is set in?
That feels like 1700s, 1745 to 1780. So I'm in Egypt as a slave,
Are you male or female?
female,
How old are you?
12,
What are you wearing?
a loincloth. I'm out in the fields. Feels like I'm working in mud.
What sort of fields are they?
It feels that I'm making bricks with mud.
Are you alone?
There are other children around. And there's a slave master off in the distance. But because I work so hard, he doesn't bother us.
What's your name?
Roxana?
Do you know any of the other children there?
Yes, I know their names. We play a lot together.
Do you have any friends?
Not too many, but I have two or three friends.
Hmm. Do you know if you have family?
I'm an orphan.
What time of day is it?
It's 11 a.m.
What is the weather like?
It feels hot, but then it feels like it's also a lot of rain. The
Yeah.
riverbanks are overflowing.
Is there a river nearby?
Not too far away, so it's overflowing. So that's where we're getting the water from to make the um, still used to make the mud
Yeah.
that we're stomping in.
Does your body feel healthy?
Yes, it's very strong.
Do you know what the bricks are going to be used for?
They'll be used for building a temple.
Do you know what sort of temple that will be?
It feels as if for um, to store grain, and it feels the other one is for something to do with death.
And how do you feel doing that sort of work?
It feels invigorating. I feel good doing it. I don't look down on myself for being a slave.
Do you remember how you became a slave?
Because I'm an orphan.
How much time during the day are you forced to work?
It's 4 to 6 hours a day.
In your free or spare time, what do you usually get up to?
Making baskets and painting with this red dye.
What do you do with the baskets?
Someone takes them from me to sell.
Do you keep the money?
No, I don't get to keep the money.
What do you paint?
It feels as if I paint on ceramic and pots.
So just like the one color to make them that color?
Like something that looks like gold for highlights. Well, I'm getting married.
How old are you now?
21.
And where is this taking place?
It's taking place down by the river.
Are you still a slave?
It feels as if one of the guards from the palace is marrying me, and then I'll change my status.
How old is the guard?
25.
Do you know what your new status will be?
Serving in the lower part of um, one of the lowest levels of the Pharaoh's household.
How many people were present?
25.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing a dress, multicolored dress.
Do you know what it's made out of?
Feels like it's a mix of linen and cotton.
Do you know the name of the guard that you're marrying?
Rupiah.
Are you marrying out of love?
Yes.
So how are you feeling now as you get married?
Happy, relieved, purposeful.
Do you know what the year is?
Here, 1300.
And what is he wearing?
He's wearing he's wearing a uniform. It's some special piece of adornment because it feels like he's special to someone in Pharaoh's family.
So just see if you can pick up on the ritual or process of the marriage and what you go through to make it official. And just describe that.
Our hands are tied together. We face each other. There's a fire, and their prayers. The god Anubis is there.
Is anyone speaking?
Yeah, a priest is speaking, and as I'm getting married, it feels as if spiritually I'm being initiated into a rite, because I feel as if the gods are talking to me.
Is that a result of the process the priest goes through?
Yes, but it feels like a spiritual experience.
Up until that point in your life, have you had them speak to you before?
No,
How does it feel suddenly having that happen?
I feel very lightheaded and different. So it feels as if the experience of the amount of love that I felt that day opened my heart to this experience.
Do you understand who the gods are that are communicating?
Well, it feels like it's Ehikato and Anubis.
Do you know what they're saying?
They're whispering to me about some powers of healing and prophecy that I have. And that this is the beginning of a new phase of my life where I'll serve in the temple later on because of these gifts.
Do they tell you anything about your husband?
No, no, they don't. he's also spiritually gifted too, and so this union with him that has awakened all of this.
So do you get a sense that he's also been triggered or awakened as well?
Yeah, he's been awakened deeper.
So what takes place next in the ceremony process?
Well, we're washing our faces with holy water, and my third eye is opening, and I'm starting to see things that I've never seen before. They're reading from a sacred book, and then I'm seeing things that weren't on the page before. After I wash my face, I'm seeing things now, and it feels as if it's an ancient knowledge that's just new to me. Something to do with when people are passing and their souls. It's all new to me, so it's not. I can't comprehend it clearly.
Yeah.
Feels overwhelming on top of everything else that's happening. I see them washing our feet. I'm washing his feet. He's washing mine. We're taking water and we're putting it on each other's heads as a spiritual baptism of sorts. And then it feels as if I saw some crack there, I feel like there's a UFO that just, or some craft like that just, I could feel it in my being.
What does it look like? The shape?
Like a flat egg.
Do other people notice it, or is it just you?
It's just me and my husband who notice it, and it's almost like we give each other some looks to say, are we the only ones seeing this, or because no one else seems to notice it. The priest notices it.
How far away is it?
It feels like it's overhead, and then after the ceremony, it's almost as if our energies are whisked away in it to another dimension. Or it feels as if it's just a higher plane within the same lifetime in the.
Do you know the reason why that's taken place? Why it's whisked away?
It feels like an initiation into the new arts, the spiritual awakening that we just had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hieroglyphs or writings there. And just by touching them, it's almost as if the information is imbued within my being.
Whereabouts are those glyphs?
It's in this etheric place that the craft took us to. But it feels as if I'm changing. So before I was married, I felt and looked like a slave, but now after this, it's like there's an initiation happening where I feel like I'm becoming someone else, like someone to work in a temple. So it's like an initiation it's like a rite of passage, an initiation into a new job or way of being from being with this guy, this man.
So
It feels if I
yeah.
was allowed to marry this guy, because the priest saw that I had certain gifts.
And yeah, from him marrying you and you marrying him, that meant that they activated because of who you and him were, I guess.
Yeah.
So you said before the energies were taken away, but you also felt you were taken away with the
It felt
UFO?
as if we were transported to another realm within within Egypt itself.
Yeah.
It's, there was this hidden chamber, a place, but you can only access there energetically.
And the craft had something to do with that transporting process?
It feels so, yes. It feels as if we were on the ground and then we were sort of whisked up.
Do you know if your physical bodies went?
It doesn't feel like it. It feels as if the physical body uh, was. Um, it's almost as if the physical body retired after the wedding to a time of rest, like a time of siesta, while the spirit had this awakening before it went back to celebrate with the people in the evening.
So at which point do you think that you were taken away from the wedding or from the siesta? Do you get a sense of when that took place?
This all happened in the same day, so it was almost as if so the ceremony happened and then everyone went away for a bit, which allowed us the time to have this happen.
Yeah. So were you on your own when that started to happen?
No, we were both together, initiated into this, and we were together the entire time.
So the two of you were together. Was anyone else there when you were taken away?
Just no, but it's almost as if the priest energy was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go to that place you were taken away to. And you mentioned there were glyphs, and you mentioned it was some kind of room.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you pick up on while you're there?
It feels as if there's a bigger craft there, but we don't have anything to do with that craft. We're being prepared energetically to serve in the temple. Um, to help special souls cross when they die.
Do you know if this craft is? Do you know the location of this craft?
It feels as if it's sitting above a pyramid or above, like it's just so big, it feels like it's sitting over Egypt itself.
Do you know who or what controls the craft?
It feels as if that energy is not from Earth.
Do you get a sense of what they look like?
They look humanoid.
What would the differences be, which are not human so much?
Their body structure is different than a human's. A human is more carbon based. Theirs feels like it's more crystalline.
What about their faces? Are there any differences with their face?
Their facial structure is different than a human's. It's more elongated. They have tiny ears. They're like their hands are different. They can sense with their what we would call their skin.
If
They're
they,
shaped like humans.
yeah, if they were to give you a name of their species or where they come from, what comes to mind?
Atari.
Okay, so you've gone through an initiation there. Did it all take place in the same location?
Yes, in that etheric chamber.
Yeah. How large is the chamber?
It's about 25 by 30 feet.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there's the glyphs inside. Is there anything else?
There's a. It feels like there's a water flowing like a fountain, but the water doesn't feel like water. It feels like it's more crystalline. Um, it feels like it's vapor, but it's still flowing, and it's iridescent.
What is the fountain made out of?
The fountain itself that's housing this is feels something like marble and granite with another material that's otherworldly, and
Yes. Yeah.
it it feels like that, but one's hand can pass right through it.
Okay. So it's, would you say that it's kind of been constructed with bits of earth, I mean, elements of earth and elements of something somewhere else?
It's a mix of earth elements, but it doesn't feel like it has physical form, and
Mm.
it feels like it's just it's hovering, and then it's throwing off all of this into the atmosphere. And so as we breathe it in, it's actually changing our structure. It's almost as if we're undergoing a metamorphosis of some kind to be prepared for the spiritual work that we are to do in the temple,
And when you mean the atmosphere, you mean inside that room?
that chamber.
Yeah. Okay, before you said the priest energy came with you as well, do you notice any other energy apart from you two and the priest?
It feels as if there's the energy of one of the off-world people, like they inhabit that space sometimes, but their energy signature is there, but they're not there currently.
Do you know if they're influencing or taking part in that process or initiation? Or is it just you picking up on them being there in the past?
It is me picking up on them in the past. It doesn't feel. It feels as if they had something to do with the process, and we're going through the motions. It's almost like we're being guided intuitively through the process by someone, feeling their energy, but them not actually physically there.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, do you think the priest is also present in some way and helping you, or is it more so that intuition from the off-world being?
It feels like it's both. Like the priest feels like he's providing the grounding aspect to it. This is new, but this is something to feel safe about. So he's not, even though he's not there physically, I feel comforted. We feel comforted by his presence because we could still feel him there guiding us to know that this is safe.
Can you see or work out what are some of the things that get activated within you, as in the abilities or future methods you might be using with others?
So there's healing, physical healing and rejuvenation. Um, there's this ability to maximize um, the yield in crops, the ability to work with water to purify the water just with our energy. It's energy to keep the people calm and almost sedated, to keep everyone in line.
What would you say the differences are between you and your husband in terms of what you'll be getting up to and using, how you'll be using those abilities?
He'll be in security in a different way, I get at a higher post. Whereas me, I'll be out in the community using these healing gifts in the land uh, without people knowing what I'm doing. It'll just be looking like I'm working in the field or collecting water, but really it's about healing the land, uplifting people, and serving the leaders in this way.
And just check back into the initiation process. So before you said the temple, uh, not the temple, the fountain and the atmosphere was part of it. What, is there anything else that goes on that changes the two of you?
I feel as if there's something going on at the back of my head, as if there's some kind of energy being put there, or like a different garb we'll be wearing to activate this energy. Because it just feels like before I got married, I was one person. And going through all of this, I'll come out someone different, and it feels like I'm leaving an old life behind and becoming someone new.
So would that difference be related to what you look like physically, or would you be in the same body still?
My body feels like it's changing while I'm in this place. It's, um, I even feel like my hair is growing.
What about your physical appearance? Would your face look the same as what it used to?
It would look the same, and I would appear to be the same, but I feel just a completely different person.
Do you feel any other presences, like any other souls, or is it just more you changing in a large way inside?
It feels as if I'm changing in a large way, but it also feels as if the god Ehikatl is there, um, and he's just helping with the process.
Would he still be there after the process is complete?
No,
Does anything else take place before you wake up from that process?
it feels as if we are bathed in an actual fountain of sorts to embody all of this.
Would that be your physical bodies?
Yes.
Does that take place after the experience on the craft?
Yes, and while we didn't stay in the craft uh, long. A lot of this happens in that room, and then it feels as if that fountain bath is a way to embody and integrate and ground us again.
Yeah. And do you know if that took place after you slept or before?
Well, we didn't actually sleep per se. It just felt like a rest. That
Mm.
way, guests of the wedding would think we're resting, but we're not.
And do you know if this is a common process for people that get married, or is it part of a class of your people that it only happens to?
No, this is not a normal process. It just felt like this was an awakening, a spiritual awakening um, that happened for us that day when we got married because of the spiritual gifts.
Do you know how many of your people would that happen to in, say, a year or 10 years? How many would go through that process?
I would say about 10 people that, being an orphan, I didn't realize that it was my lineage to have these gifts.
It came as a surprise.
Mm.
10 people as in a year, single year?
No, it's not. It's not a common occurrence.
And do you know if you have a title or a special title after you've gone through that? Or is it more like a secret sort of thing?
It's someone who works in the Temple of the Dead, and so it feels like another priestess position.
And is that part of like the royalty, or how would you describe that? Like you mentioned the pharaohs earlier, is it part of them, or?
It's in service to them, so that when people have these gifts, the pharaohs entrust their passing to these people to groom them for the afterlife,
Mm,
because these people are sensitive to the other world, and
okay.
that's why the initiation happened.
Do you know if there was someone in charge that made the decision that you two could go through that initiation?
The priest.
Was there anyone above him, or was it solely his decision?
So it feels as if that there was a council in the pharaoh's courts. The priest noticed that I had the gift from in the field because he sensed it in me
Yeah.
as a potential. And when that happened to me when I got married, the council in the pharaoh's office felt it.
So did the council then discuss that and decide upon it?
Yeah, it's almost as if it was an energetic agreement or conversation between the council of the pharaoh and the priest.
Energetic, do you mean that it may not have
Yes,
been decided in person in physical body?
energetic. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know who's part of that council?
The pharaoh has a lot of different counselors, people he trusts, and so there are 6 people in that council.
So there's the pharaoh, and then there's 6 people, and the priest is one of those people.
Yeah, there are 2 different priests. So after a few years, I'm being promoted to be the head. Um, as you call it, undertaker in the temple for the pharaohs when they pass.
How does that promotion take place?
It's a it's a very quiet um, process, meaning it just happens with whomever is in the temple itself. Because they realized that I could sense energies, and when the pharaoh is starting to, or when the leaders are starting to feel ill, I can sense. And so I start helping them by preparing their body and souls for the passage to the other side. And so it's another initiation to allow me to help them as they're getting ready to leave this plane.
Mm. Where does the initiation take place?
It takes place in the temple itself, uh, in another in another room in the temple itself, a very small space.
What does the temple look like from the outside?
It's a square edifice with a lot of statues of gods and pharaohs and leaders. Pharaohs.
Is it near any pyramids?
No.
Okay. Who is present as you're promoted to that role?
Uh, the Pharaoh, his council, my husband, and it includes 2 doctors.
So just see if you can follow that process and describe what takes place as that happens.
So I kneel before the Pharaoh. Everyone gathers around in a semicircle on either side of the Pharaoh. I am in front of them kneeling. My husband has his hand on my shoulder. I'm gifted a robe, a long robe, and a headpiece,
What color is the robe?
purplish with gold and red.
What does the headpiece look like?
Uh, it looks like a veil with a headband on it.
So it's pretty thin.
It is very thin. It's very light.
What's it made out of?
It's made out of different metals with lights, with different. Feels like thin pieces of gold mixed with some copper. It has a few stones on it. It has the ankh on it, in the middle by the third eye.
What color are the stones?
They're multicolor. I've seen amethyst, ruby, all the different color stones.
How many would you say? How many stones?
9.
Are they at the what side are the stones on? Would they be facing forward or at the back?
They're facing forward.
Okay. What does the pharaoh look like?
He's tall. He's about 6'7". Very lean, strong, very spiritually strong, very spiritually adept. He's a warrior, educated, charismatic.
What is he wearing?
He's dressed in fine linens and gold with a cape.
What color is his skin?
It's a light. It's uh, it's a dark. It's darker than olive, but he's not really black.
Yeah. What color is his eyes?
They feel blue.
Is there anything on his head?
He has a small band, like a headband, not a crown, a headband.
Does he look human?
He doesn't feel human, no.
Do you know where he comes from?
Antari constellation.
Is he associated or part of the beings that are connected into the craft that you had the initiation on?
No, no. He feels he's in a hierarchy above them.
Do you know how long that he's lived there on Earth?
Hundreds of years.
Has he been the pharaoh that entire time?
It feels so, but it also feels that a lot of the real history about him has been sealed, hidden.
hidden to the people that are living there in their lifetime, you mean? Yeah. What's his
Yes.
name? What's the first word that pops in?
The first word that came was an R, but then there was a P, so I'm not quite sure.
That's all right. Okay, so keep following that process. What happens next?
Well, I have their blessing, and I go to work, and I work there. I have no children in this lifetime.
Is there a reason why you didn't have children so far?
I just did not want any in that lifetime.
Yeah. So the initiation was completed. Nothing else took place there.
No, no.
Was it more of a simple process? You like for example, you
It,
didn't get any visions or anything like that.
no, it was a very simple process. It was without fanfare.
Yeah.
It felt as if I was brought into a fold of sacred beings and for a life of service.
Yeah.
By the way, I heard it was Ramses, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So, it's the day of my retirement from that post.
How old are you now?
I was there 25 years of service, so it feels like I'm in my 40s.
Is the same Pharaoh alive and around still?
No, he's passed.
What are you doing just now?
Um, well, it was a quiet ceremony, and I'm just at home enjoying a quiet life, gardening.
Is your husband still there?
No, he passed.
Did you end up having any children?
No,
Did you take part in the passing of the Pharaoh?
yes.
Just see if you can step back into that moment and see what happened. How did that process take place?
Before he passed, energetically, I knew that it was time for his passing. I um, helped to prepare him. He knew energetically it was his time, and his spirits started communing with the off-world people, his people.
Did you say his parents did?
No, his people, his spirit started communing with people off-world in his world.
Yeah. How did that take place? How did you observe that?
Because I had this gift of sensing these things, which is why they chose me to do the work in the first place.
So it's like a feeling or a psychic message you got that was taking place?
Yes,
Mm. And because of that, you knew that it was coming.
that it was his time.
Yeah.
And then he also sensed that I sensed. And then over the years, it's almost as if because that was my job, when it was time, I would feel that from the people that I had to take care of, those leaders. And so I helped him. There was no mental preparation because he was versed in that.
Mm.
And then when he passed, I prepared his body. And
So your involvement with his passage was more about after he passed?
yes,
Yeah. Did you ever speak beforehand and in person about that process or about him moving on?
no, in his case, because he was such, he felt like he was enlightened, and so he understood the process. and it was um, it was a joyous. Uh, it was a joyous surrendering of the physical body.
Yeah.
And so when it was passing, I could feel if the soul knew where it was going or not and guide them along the way. In his case, it was more of an accompaniment because he knew what he was all about spiritually.
Yeah.
And then there were certain trainings that I received in the temple to help souls with that, to usher them into that other realm. And in his case, it was more of an accompanying than guide.
So how did you help with the processing of his physical body afterwards?
There was a lot of the embalming. That was all that I had to help with. Just the preparing of the body, the embalming, the saying. There's certain prayers that we say and certain rituals that we would do with the body, um, calling in the energy of the gods, having the body in the temple.
How long did the body stay in the temple?
It stayed there for 4 to 3 days.
Where did it go afterwards?
Uh, After that, it went to the sarcophagus.
And where was that placed?
That was in deep within one of the pyramids.
So during that entire process, did you pick up on any other beings, as in spirit beings from the other side that may have been present?
With him,
With him or with you or with the physical body, around the physical body or anywhere? Yeah.
there were. I felt that day when I got married, there were certain beings that stayed with me the entire time after that. It was like I had an energetic family that walked with me after that day. Um, the Pharaoh had his own cadre of spiritual beings that were with him at all time, and I can feel them, but I wasn't privy to that information with him.
Yeah. Do you know how the ones with you, do you know if they influenced you at all?
Oh, they did. They guided me. Um, they helped me to understand the spirit realm, how to go deeper with my abilities, how to teleport mentally, soul travel, how to heal the land.
So it was a bit like having spirit guides, but even more so.
Yeah, it felt a lot more real. Like
Mm. So when you think back about the Pharaoh, do you know if he ever taught you anything? Did he share anything important with you?
no, so from being in his presence and not directly, a lot of that energy was felt. His fortitude, his spiritual lineage. I would say that was it, but to say that I was in his inner court, no.
Okay. And do you recall anyone else very important that you helped pass, similar to the process of the Pharaoh?
Uh, well, the people of the Pharaoh's inner court, it was I helped. I helped prepare them. A lot of them, they weren't as versed in the passing, especially the doctors. They were fearful of death,
Mm.
of the other world. And so that took some work to help them to understand. Um, and that's eventually the priest helped with that. And that's where I learned a lot about helping some people who don't understand or don't have that gift to help them to understand um, the other world.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So your husband has passed on, and you mentioned I think you were in the garden, and you were at your house or property. Do you have any pets?
I have a cat. I have two cats and two cats, some goats and some rabbits.
How big is your place?
Um, Feels like it's about an acre.
What does the building look like?
It feels like a ranch style. It's flat with arches,
What's it made out
a
of?
a bed on the floor. It's made out of brick, stone.
So would you say it's not flash in a way?
It's not flash.
As in, because of your position and role, you may have
Uh,
been given an expensive place or
no,
extravagant. Yeah.
it was comfortable. It wasn't a place of wealth, but it wasn't muddy floors.
Mm. So as you go about your moments there, does anything pop into mind that you're thinking about in relation to that life?
It was a very fulfilling life of service, and it felt like it was important work that I did, spiritual work, helping souls find their way in the afterlife. I'm ready to pass, and there are servants there, and there's a priest there who will help me pass. I understand the process, and so I've prepared myself mentally.
How many years have passed now since you retired that role you were in before?
25.
25. Okay. Okay. What were you saying?
It feels I'm dying from a problem with my chest, my breathing. I'm having a hard time breathing, and as I take my final breath, the servants of the house are around. Some few of three female friends.
Mm. Do you remember what you did to prepare mentally?
I remember seeing the journey. My beliefs were different to those than most of the people in the region, so I believed that I would just pass and my spirit would just go back to the Creator. I didn't believe that they would be carried on the river, and
So
it
there was
just
some cultural beliefs that most people thought would happen, but that wasn't your belief.
yes, and I just believed that when I passed, as I exhaled, my being would be with the Creator in a garden of sorts.
Mm.
an energetic garden. So it wasn't a very long or lengthy mental process.
Did you go through any rituals or exercises to prepare?
No.
So it was more like thoughts mentally,
Yes.
like you described, yeah. Okay, so you're taking your last breath, just go through that process.
I'm gasping for breath. Someone is holding my hand. Someone is holding my head. Someone's at my feet. They're singing
Do you know what the song is about?
songs about being loved.
And is this taking place at your property?
Yes, it is.
What happens next?
Uh, I can feel myself leaving my body, seeing them holding me, and then I'm gone from that lifetime.
Where do you go?
Exactly where I had envisioned, and now I'm back to that space with my guides, my spiritual. I'm in this place with my guides where it's almost as if they all greet me.
What does it look like around where the guides are?
It doesn't look like anything. It's just an energetic space.
Okay. And are those the guides that were with you in that lifetime?
Yes, the guys that were with me in the lifetime.
What is one of the first things that they communicate to you?
The level of service that I performed in that lifetime, and the degree that I performed it with, and they're helping me to they're helping me to process certain mental or egos that I had issues with in that lifetime mentally.
So in a way, you're kind of you're healing from that lifetime.
Hmm.
And from that position, when you look back at it, what do you think the main lesson and purpose was?
Why it was a life of selfless service.
So it was
Not
important for you to learn that, to have a lifetime where it was very selfless like that.
it was, yes, it was selfless, where I was helping people in a phase of their life where many of them were afraid and they needed to be supported as they were passing from one dimension to the other.
Mm.
And that lifetime was not about me or my needs in any way.
Okay, so what else do you get up to with your guides in that space?
It's almost like a debriefing of sorts. And this goes on for quite a while, where they're helping me to process the different layers of being, and then asking me what else do I want to experience on Earth.
As in what you want to do next, you mean?
Next, or in different lifetimes, because there's just so many. What do I really want? And they're helping me to really figure out, um, even if I want to experience something, what exactly is that I want to experience in that lifetime.
When they go over that life you just had, do they ever um, get into a situation where they're like implying that you should have made a different choice or a different decision, or did they ever cover things that they may say that you could have learned this instead based on a decision or anything like that?
No, because they realize there's free will. They're helping me to see how I could process things differently.
So when you say process things differently, do you mean like, for example, you made a choice or did an action while in that lifetime and then you could have processed that differently then?
Yes, helping me to see, um, like I had a theme for that lifetime, and that lifetime was not about me. And then sometimes, if I felt I wanted to have children, and then that became an issue for me mentally, then they helped me to see, um, why they helped me to decide that, or if it's a life of service, where would I be stuck with my ego with that, helping me to understand things from, a non-egoic perspective, and then integrate that so that it's an understanding, so that when I return to earth for the next lifetime, how to deal with things in a different way, so that, or how to choose lifetimes with a theme that works best for what it is that I want.
Is there anything else important that they tell you while you're there with them that's worth mentioning?
That I have free will, and no matter what I choose, it's really the path of my soul, and it'll be integrated. To help her understand, that in this lifetime, and in most of her lifetimes, it's been a theme of service to others.
Is there anything, any ability, any skill, any knowledge from that lifetime that can be brought forth to add to her current abilities and skills or knowledge, or to have something new for her to use? Is there anything you can do to bring that forth?
We will deepen her connection with the elementals in this lifetime, and ask her to call on, continue calling on, a Hikako for the rest of this year to get her answer.
That sounds good.
She knows how to do that currently.
And with her second lifetime, she was in Egypt, which was the life she just had come up. What, in addition to being of service to others, why was it important for her to see that one today?
To help her to understand detachment.
What does she need to know in relation to attachment with relation to her current life?
To put her, she can have desires, but learn how to be detached from them.
And why is it important that she does that?
Having attachments to the desires is holding her back.
Holding her back in what way?
Holding her back on a soul level, and just from experiencing joy.
Okay.
Just the joy of being.
Okay, so Anne wants to know what she should do with her gifts. What can you tell her?
She's on the right path. She has to continue doing what she's doing. And we will show her in the next 3 to 6 months what direction she is to go in with regard to bringing this service to the people she wants to serve.
What is something that she can do next to help her with that process?
Meditation and unplugging, being more physical, being out more in nature, and not so much in her head, doing more, uh, creative activities, which will bring the information faster to them.
Is there a practical step she could take in relation to helping others and using her gifts that you can advise? So, for example, she's got some decisions to make, such as with business ideas. What would the best decision for moving forward that she could make?
To continue with the with what she's doing now, and the answer lies in that. Just she has to keep going with the coursework.
So, as you said, over the next 6 or so months, the answers will just reveal themselves.
Yes,
Okay.
very very clearly.